Stop everything you're doing right now. Seriously. Take 3 deep breaths before you continue, because what you're about to hear is not coincidence, it's not algorithm, it's not luck, it's not chance. You arrived here exactly 3 hours after this message was released, and that in itself is a sign impossible to ignore. 3 hours, not yesterday, not last week. It was now, this minute, this instant, when you should be doing 1,000 other things. But you stopped. You stopped because something within you recognized that this message was for you. And if you stopped scrolling on this video, amid so much other content competing for your seconds of attention, it's because someone on the other side of the veil moved invisible pieces for this message to reach you at the exact moment your soul needed to hear it most. Have you ever felt more than once that something within you doesn't fit in this world, as if your soul knew a truth your mind can't yet name? It's not madness. It's not anxiety. It's not an existential crisis. It's a sign. It's the silent confirmation that you are being called, and that heaven is trying to speak to you through the smallest details of your day. The number you saw on the clock when you looked at your phone for no apparent reason. The song that played out of nowhere and reminded you of something you swore you'd forgotten. The dream you had 3 nights ago and still can't get out of your head. The person who appeared out of nowhere with the right word on the wrong day. The animal that crossed your path and stared at you as if it knew you. And now this video, exactly 3 hours after being published, appearing on your screen as if whispering, "I was waiting for you." Pay attention to this, because most people spend their entire lives ignoring these signs. They scroll through the feed, swallow the warnings, and continue living as if they were just another disposable piece in a game they don't even know they're playing. But not you. You stopped. You read the title. You felt something in your chest when the cursor passed over it. And that feeling, that kind of gentle shiver that ran down your spine, is not fear. It's recognition. It's your soul finally saying someone is speaking directly to me. There's a game being played in layers that most of humanity can't see. A game that involves your consciousness, your vibrational frequency, and the role you were designated to fulfill in this transition that has already begun. And every time you feel this strangeness, this silent certainty that there is something greater, you are receiving direct confirmation that you are not an observer of this story. You are its central piece. You were marked even before you were born for this exact moment. And the enemy knows it. He knows that a message arriving 3 hours later on the right day is the kind of sign that breaks the last resistance of a chosen one. That's why he tried to distract you before you opened this video. A notification, a call, a random thought to make you close the app. But it didn't work. Because when heaven decides to speak, no tactic from hell can hold it back. That's why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, the manual for those chosen by God to protect the family. This ebook is not just reading, it's a map. A map that deciphers exactly these synchronicities you've been experiencing. The numbers that appear repeatedly, the dreams that refuse to leave your memory, the coincidences that make no sense to ordinary eyes, the messages that arrive 3 hours later on the exact day. It shows who is on the other side, trying to divert your attention before you understand who you really are. What the rules are that they never told you about this layered spiritual game, and what entities from other dimensions have already revealed about the exact moment we are living in now. This ebook was created for those who have already awakened enough to recognize that a message, arriving exactly 3 hours later, is no coincidence. It's a calling. For those who know that reality is far deeper than what is taught in common churches, schools, and media, and are ready to go beyond the shallow answers the world offers. The link is in the first pinned comment at the top of the comments, but I must warn you, this type of content rarely stays available for long. What is in these pages challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact, and there have already been attempts to silence this knowledge before. Don't wait for the right moment. The right moment is now chosen, because you didn't stumble upon this text by accident. Download now and comment. I'm the chosen one, and I'm going to download the ebook. Make this act of faith before you continue watching, because now that you've decided to act, the next truth I'm going to tell you will be the final blow against the force that has been trying to keep you asleep until today. Now listen very carefully to what I'm about to reveal, Because this is where things get serious. Have you ever stopped to think why there are so many videos, so many notifications, so many stimuli competing for every second of your day? It's not by chance. There is engineering behind it, an invisible spiritual engineering whose sole purpose is to prevent you from stopping long enough to hear the voice of the Spirit itself speaking to you. Every swipe of your finger, every notification sound, every new tab you open is a calculated attempt to keep you on the surface, far from the depths where the true answers reside. And when you stop, as you have now, something breaks. The veil opens. And that's why exactly 3 hours after this message was released, you were drawn here. Because 3 is the number of divine confirmation. 3 is the number of the Holy Trinity, Dad, Son, and Holy Spirit. 3 is the number that appears in the Bible whenever something definitive is about to be fulfilled. Peter denied Jesus 3 times before the rooster crowed. Jesus resurrected on the 3rd day. Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days before being reborn with his mission intact. Daniel prayed 3 times a day, even under a royal decree that threatened his life. And you received this message exactly 3 hours later because heaven doesn't work with coincidences. Heaven works with precise signs, with sure numbers, with surgical timing, so that you have no excuse later for denying that you were warned. And if you are still here, still feeling this strange presence in the environment as you listen to these words, it's because this message was surgically delivered at the exact moment you needed it most. Thousands of people will come across this video today. Thousands will scroll endlessly. Hundreds will watch for 5 seconds and flee to the next stimulus because their souls are not yet mature enough to bear the weight of truth. But you have been selected. You have been chosen from the crowd. And your simple act of continuing here is proof that there is something different about you, something that recognizes the calling when it arrives, something your family may never have understood, that your friends may have mocked, that common pastors may have called exaggeration, but which now in this instant is being confirmed by forces far beyond what physical eyes can see. You are not your family's problem. You are the answer. You are not the odd one out in the group. You are the watchman. You are not the loner, you are the guardian. And that's why you've always felt different. That's why you've always been the misunderstood one. That's why even surrounded by people, you've always felt like you were carrying an invisible burden that no one else could see. And it is precisely here, at this exact point of revelation, that the digital book manual of God's chosen ones to protect the family becomes the missing piece for you to understand everything you've always felt and never had words for. Explain. This ebook was written for the moment the message arrives 3 hours later, when heaven's exact schedule knocks on your door, and you need clear instructions on what to do with this calling that has now become impossible to ignore. It explains how to identify each sign sent specifically to you, how to differentiate a message from the Holy Spirit from a trap by the enemy disguised as synchronicity, how to protect each member of your family from attacks that intensify precisely when you begin to awaken, and how to use divine timing to your advantage instead of letting it pass by through ignorance. It's the map nobody wants you to have, because while you remain confused, thinking it's anxiety, thinking it's madness, thinking it's just coincidence, you continue to be a manipulated pawn. But when you understand the rules, you become a player. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. They've tried to take down this material before. This isn't the first time we've had to repost. Download now and comment, "I'm the chosen one, and I'm going to download the ebook." Write this with faith, because this comment is a spiritual seal. It's a public declaration that you've accepted the calling. And now that you've done that, the next layer of this revelation will hit you with full force. And here's what almost no one is prepared to hear. The reason you've felt this presence so strongly in recent weeks, the reason your dreams have become more intense, stranger, more revealing, the reason you wake up in the early hours at specific times, like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, the reason you've started seeing the same numbers repeatedly throughout the day, like 11 and 11, 22 and 22, 4 and 44, all of this is connected to the same spiritual phenomenon. It's not your subconscious making things up. It's not the algorithm's chance. It's not a phase. It's direct communication. It's heaven trying to establish contact with you before the next wave arrives. Because a wave is coming, a wave of events, transformations, revelations, and upheavals that will affect every area of people's lives: family, finances, health, relationships, purpose. And only those who are spiritually prepared will get through without being consumed by the intensity. The others will freak out. They will become emotionally ill. They will lose their footing. They will cling to the wrong things. They will fall into traps that have been waiting for them for years, and you were warned 3 hours beforehand for a reason. You received this message exactly now for a reason, because heaven doesn't abandon you. Heaven prepares you. Heaven shields you before the storm, not during. And if you've made it this far in the video, it's because you are part of the group that still has time to prepare. You still have time to shield your home. You still have time to protect your family. You still have time to understand what your exact role is in this transition. Pay attention also to a detail that may have gone unnoticed. How many times in the past few days have you had the impression that someone was trying to speak to you? A sudden urge to pray for no reason. An untimely thought about a specific family member. A scent in the air that no one else smelled. A feeling of presence behind you in empty rooms. This isn't your mind making things up. This is the same phenomenon that made you stop at this video 3 hours after it was released. It's heaven breaking through your bubble of routine to reach you before the enemy can hijack your attention again. And that is precisely why the digital book manual of God's chosen ones to protect the family needs to be on your phone today. Because it was written with a surgical objective, to prepare you before the wave arrives. It shows, page by page, how to correctly interpret each message you've been receiving in recent months. The numbers, the dreams, the awakenings. Dawn. The strange people who appeared in your life. The doors that closed without explanation. The doors that opened out of nowhere. The messages that arrived 3 hours later, exactly when you needed them most. It reveals how to shield each member of your family against the wave of spiritual attacks that intensifies in the lives of those who begin to awaken, because it's a rule of the game. When one in the family wakes up, the enemy tries to attack all the others to force the chosen one to go back to sleep. And it teaches with absolute clarity what are the prayers, the seals, the spiritual postures, and the practical actions that separate those who cross the passage standing from those who fall along the way. This ebook is not for the curious, it's for the chosen ones. It's for those who received this message 3 hours after it was released and instantly understood they were being called. The link is at the top of the comments, the first one pinned. And I need to repeat, this material has already been the target of silencing attempts. What it reveals challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact. Don't leave it for later, because there's no guarantee it will be available tomorrow. Download now and comment. I'm the chosen one, and I'm going to download the ebook. Make the comment before continuing, because now that you have made this commitment, the next revelation will seal once and for all why you were chosen specifically for this time. And what I'm about to tell you now is the core of this message that was released 3 hours before finding you. You were not born by chance into the family you were born into. Every difficulty, every trauma, every rejection, every moment you felt invisible or misunderstood at home was part of the training. You were placed there to be the bridge. You are the spiritual elder of your lineage, even if no one in your family recognizes it yet. You are the one who came to break cycles that your ancestors carried for generations without being able to break them. And the enemy knows this from the day you opened your eyes for the first time. That's why the attempts to silence you started so early. That's why you were ridiculed when you spoke of spiritual things in childhood. That's why you were called dramatic when you started to perceive patterns that others didn't see. That's why the most toxic relationships in your life always appeared precisely at the moments you were closest to awakening. That's why doors closed in areas where you were forcing paths that were not yours. None of this was punishment. It was redirection. It was heaven pushing you onto the right path even when you resisted, even when you cried, even when you thought God had forgotten you. God never forgot. God was preparing the exact moment this message would arrive 3 hours later, on the right day, on your screen, so that the final resistance would fall. And it's now, and it's here, and it's you. Pay attention to the next signs that will appear in the next 72 hours after you watch this video. Because from the moment you consciously accept the call, the spiritual plan reorganizes around you. Things start to move. The right people start to appear with specific messages. Books and videos you needed start to arrive without you searching. Doors that were locked for years open inexplicably. But at the same time, and this is what no one tells you, the attacks also intensify. People who were neutral in your life may start attacking you. Family members may start confronting you out of the blue. Bad dreams may appear in the first few nights. Feelings of heaviness, of oppression, of something trying to make you go back. This is not a sign that you erred. It's proof that you were right. Because the enemy only attacks those who represent a threat. He never wastes time with those who are asleep. He only moves when he realizes someone is about to turn the game around. And the simple act of continuing to watch, commenting on the commitment, and starting to study the right material is enough to set off all alarms on the other side. That's why the chosen one needs to be equipped, not emotionally, spiritually, with knowledge, with strategy, with authority. And it is precisely this kind of arsenal that you need to gather now, before the next phase begins. There are 3 things every chosen one discovers too late, and I want you to discover them now, before it's too late. The first, not every voice that presents itself as spiritual is trustworthy. There are entities that disguise themselves as guides, as angels, as ascended masters, to lead the chosen one away from their true mission. They offer real information, yes, but with a subtle twist that leads you down paths that seem right and end in traps. Discernment is the most important gift in this time, and discernment is learned, trained, deepened. The second, family doesn't always recognize the chosen one. And that's okay. The chosen one was not sent to be applauded at home. They were sent to be an anchor, often silent, for the transformations that will happen in the coming decades within the lineage. Don't waste your energy trying to convince those who are not ready to listen. Pray for them in silence and take care of your own journey. The third, the chosen one has specific invisible enemies. It's not the generic enemy that torments everyone. It's a direct alignment against your life, against your mission, against what you represent in the cosmic game. And understanding who exactly is on the other side is what separates those who live on the defensive from those who live on the offensive, in authority, in dominion. These 3 points are detailed in the ebook, with a depth you won't find anywhere else, because it was written for the chosen ones who are ready for the next level. And now, before the final revelation of this video, I need to remind you of something. You arrived here 3 hours later than this message was released for a specific reason. There is a window of opportunity opening now, a window that will not stay open indefinitely. The messages that are coming into your life during this period, the dreams, the numbers, the right people at the right times, are part of an intensive preparation that heaven is doing in you for what lies ahead. And every day you postpone acting, every week you let pass without equipping yourself spiritually, is a stage of preparation you lose. Not because God will give up on you. God never gives up. But because the right timing is fundamental. There is a huge difference between arriving prepared for battle and arriving unprepared. Between being summoned with armor and being summoned naked. Between knowing who the enemy is and discovering too late that he has been inside your house for years disguised as something good. You have been warned, 3 hours before, a sign impossible to ignore, a message that crossed algorithms, distractions, fatigue, and arrived intact in your heart. You recognized it, you stopped, you read, you felt it, and now all that's left is to act. Because knowledge without action turns into frustration. A sign without a response becomes condemnation, and the chosen one who hears but does not obey loses the right to the next warning. Notice something. Throughout the Bible, in all the stories of the great chosen ones, there was always a decisive moment when the person called needed to say yes publicly, concretely, irreversibly. Moses needed to pick up his staff. David needed to pick up his sling. Mary needed to say, "Be it unto me according to your word." Peter needed to step out of the boat. None of them were chosen by feeling alone. All of them needed to materialize their choice in a practical, visible action that sealed their commitment to heaven and to themselves. And your moment is now. Your staff, your sling, your word of acceptance is the simple act of downloading the material that will prepare you and writing in the comments that I'm the chosen one, and I'm going to download the ebook. Chosen. Seems like little, seems symbolic. It's not. In the invisible realm, a conscious act of faith moves mountains that inattentive prayers never can. That's why I insist, not as someone selling, but as someone fulfilling a mission to alert you, that the digital book manual for God's chosen to protect the family needs to be yours today. It's the natural continuation of this message that found you 3 hours after it was released. It's the logical next step after this calling. It's the map that transforms this feeling of being called into a clear direction on what to do, where to go, how to act, whom to face, what to avoid, how to shield your family, how to decipher the signs that keep coming, how not to fall into the traps of false guides, how to recognize the exact timing of each move in your life. It was written for the chosen one who finally stopped scrolling, finally paid attention, finally understood they weren't here by accident. It's the material many have tried to silence, because exposing the game is always more dangerous for the enemy than anything else. The link is in the first comment pinned at the top of the comments. Download now. Not tomorrow, not later, now. And leave your public comment. I'm the chosen one, and I'm going to download the ebook. This comment is the seal that officially marks in the invisible realms that you have accepted the mission, that you are no longer the same as you were before these 3 hours, that you've turned the page, that now you play. If this video found you 3 hours after it was released, it's because at the exact moment it was published, your name was already marked to receive it. And if you've made it this far, to this last word of this last sentence, it's because your soul recognized everything. Accept, download, comment. And get ready, because the next chapter of your story begins now. Chosen one. Heaven has done its part. Now it's your turn.